policy making. So everything must be done first from the research, study and analysis in relation to develop the more cleaner air quality. But in the fact, often that's any interest that would like to influence, as mentioned by Fabian before in the states that like industry forces too strong to influence this process. Like in my country, in Indonesia, that's always that's after we have science-based policy the first, and secondly we also have like dialogue among stakeholders, and we have a strong commitment to adopt cleaner policy, cleaner technology, something like this. But suddenly any strong effort also from the industry to influence in relation to keep the old and dirty technology. Like when we adopt the Euro 4 standard, for instance, even last year my government have signed to adopt the Euro 4 standard for motor vehicle. But this process actually took long. We start to promote this in 2010, and in December 2013, for instance, we have finalized for everything, include the decree for the minister that will sign to adopt that technology. But because any influence from industry, so finally we just last year to adopt this. So I just would like to suggest to you all in the states that how we can to prevent this situation in the future. Because if no, that's also very difficult to adopt cleaner technology as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anyone like to answer what the gentleman from Indonesia, Mr. Fabian, he mentioned you.
Maybe remark, that's a very important point. Like, if I understand correctly, the situation is the private sector or the industry is influencing that the implementation of the standards are delayed or if not adopted. So I also like Professor Frank, I also don't know the answer, but of course every time we engage the private sector, we engage the industry, I guess we should call them out. If there is that kind of pressure from private sector or industry to delay, let's call them out, let's discuss why they want to delay implementation of standards, and then it hinders air pollution. Then we engage with them to see how we can maybe meet halfway. I think there's no other way to do it but just to call out the industry or the private sector.
So basically it has to be a two-way communication. It's, of course, you have the government with their policies, with their strategies. The business sector has to be part of the whole plan, but you can also let the private sector who has the money dictate also on the government. Yes?
Yeah, just I wanted to add, because it's on the private sector, one thing is the private sector is always interested is on the incentives and the economical benefits. So if somebody wants to change, and one thing, why they want to change, one is the economic benefit, the other is what are the incentives that the government is giving. So if there's a bilateral talk with the industry owners and the government, okay, if you are willing to change, then we will give you certain incentives for this. There can be a tax rebate. There are many financial instruments that can have benefit from the industrial sector for changing into a better industry. So that would be one way out, that we could opt and have a dialogue and have a policy changes on that front if we want to really see the change in the industrial sector.
Like to that?
I would like just to add one more thing. The private sector is of course very much focusing on being competitive on their final product, what they do. And of course the emission comes out of the process. So if they have to address the emissions out of this progress, they want to, of course, try to address this on very low investment costs. It is mentioned many times that the technology is available and you need to put this technology in products, right? So you have to have the right product design, the right dimensioning, you have to use the right material, that there is no corrosion on the product itself, and so on. So we see sometimes installations, they basically have the technology, but the product itself is not working at all. So that investment was done to reduce or keep the investment costs as low as possible, but to show that they have invested in a technology. And that is, from my point of view, wasted money and also not the right way to address that topic.
Yes, Inkar. I think Ms. Pradhan mentioned a very important point here, incentives from government for businesses and enterprises to get into businesses dealing with various kinds of interests in reducing air pollution. What about in waste management?
Yeah, I think intention will work at the beginning, but at the end it has to be, we have to make the business case for the private sector. I know in one industry, they are monitoring the emission coming out of the industry regularly. Whenever the pollution go up, and they go and check their emission. It's not because they are interested in reducing air pollution, because if they are getting more pollution, means they are burning a lot of fuel unnecessarily. So there's a benefit, economic benefit for them. So I think the technology providers or the air pollution community, we need to focus more on making business case for the target audience. It doesn't matter for industries. The agricultural burning for farmers, the question was, what is the intensity for farmers? There cannot be more intensity for farmers than increasing the yield. By using the rice straws as fertilizer, the yield increases. And Thailand actually promoting it very drastically, and they have done experiments and now taking it to the farmers. And by using rice straw as a fertilizer, their yield increases. So we need to make business case for each of our target audience, including the private sector.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have any more questions from the floor? Yes, sir.